good. Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast. It's the Lenny Bros back with another episode. I believe this is already week 7 of college football and week
Oh,
6 of the NFL. So, Jake, what's the slate looking like this week?
yeah, time's absolutely flying by so far with the football season. Hope everybody's enjoying it so far. First game on the slate, we got Coastal Carolina at JMU. Um, Kind of going back and forth on this game. JMU has been kind of hit and miss this season, and Coastal Carolina's looked pretty good. They're 4-1. I feel like 10.5 points is a lot for this game. I feel like it's probably going to be a back and forth game. I expect Coastal Carolina to cover the 10.5.
I like the Dukes a lot, so I'm leaning on like a -9.5. The 10.5 is a little scary because Carolina looks pretty good. Um, yeah, so I'm kind of leaning on JMU. I do think they're a good football team. Obviously, uh, I think they were undefeated last year. Might have lost one game. Had a good season. They already lost one this year, and I think their coach is going to have them playing the rest of the year.
Yeah, right on. They've got Utah going into ASU. ASU, I think, is 5.5 point dogs in that one so far. I'm gonna buy it up to 7.5. I like ASU. I like the way they've been playing. They lost a game a couple weeks ago to Texas Tech that I thought they probably shouldn't have lost, but hey, it happens. I still think that they're a really good team. They were predicted to be last in the Big 12, so I don't know where that kind of came from, but I feel like they're much improved. I feel like Utah is more on a skid than anything. Like they're just kind of relying on their defense. So I think that if they're able to run Scattaboo and can play some decent defense, which we've seen ASU be able to do, they should be able to take that game or at least keep it within a touchdown.
Yeah, I still don't know what's up with Rising. Like, I don't know if he's going to play the rest of the year or not. But yeah, I think it's in Arizona State as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I saw the line at 6, and I am leaning on taking Arizona State. So if you're going to buy it to 7.5, I like that as well.
right on. And then we got Ohio State coming in and playing the Ducks this week. That's going to be game day this week. Number 2 against number 3. Super exciting game. Just by the way, both teams have looked so far. I'm just taking Ohio State money line. I do like the way the Ducks have looked. I do think that this is probably going to be the only game that we lose, maybe outside of one other throughout the season, just because of the shaky way we've been playing this year. But if our defense settles down like we have the last 2 or 3 weeks, then we can be a really good team. I just don't see that happening against Ohio State, so I'm going to stick with Ohio State money line this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely right there with you. The 3-point line, obviously, kind of want to take it just because it's juice, but Oregon usually plays well at home in Autzen. I do like Ohio State on the money line. Oregon hasn't looked great yet. We talked about them needing to show up, have a full, complete game against Michigan State. They didn't really do that, even though they won 31-7 or something. And
Two
Ohio
picks
State
in
just,
the end zone. It's just like,
yeah. And he had a 4th and 2, gave up a 50-yarder. Granted, it was followed up by a fumble at the 2-yard line. So, I mean, it's not like they scored on it. But yeah, I mean, they just haven't really looked great, and Ohio State's continuing to dominate. So Oregon can lose a game, and I'm thinking this will be the one. And then hopefully they get things figured out the rest of the season to maybe have a revenge game come playoff time.
yeah, I do think it's important to say, like, if you're a Duck fan, like, it's just going to be based on the offense and the offensive performance. I think so far our defense has shown that we are really, really good defense. And if our front
Hmm.
four can get to the quarterback, then we can pretty much play with anybody. But our offense clearly makes too many mistakes. For Gabriel being the most tenured college football player ever, I think he's going to be passing for the most yards ever of any college quarterback. For somebody that seasoned, I really expected him to be able to perform a little bit better, especially against 18-year-olds. So yeah, I just think that Ohio State's for sure going to be the favorite going into this week. I think that the Ducks are going to have a tough time physically, and yeah, I hopefully I'm wrong, but so far I just don't see a way that we win this game. But South Carolina then goes in to play Alabama. Alabama's 20.5 point favorites after that loss to Vandy last week. They are
Hmm.
returning home. South Carolina hasn't looked too solid on offense. Had a rough game against Ole Miss last week, 27-3. So I am thinking that Alabama's going to bounce back. I'm going to buy it down from 21.5 to 19.5, just because I feel like that 20-point margin is probably going to be pretty realistic. So yeah, I'm liking Alabama there.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they come out slow, so I think they should come out
Yeah,
hot early because I'm sure Kalen's going to be getting into them after losing to Vandy on the road, letting up 40 or something like that. I do think they should be able to cover 20. I do like the first half line is actually at 12.5, and I think that they should come out and cover 12.5. Maybe the second half's kind of more even. So at least taking the first half line, if not the whole game total of 20, I like as well.
right on. Then we got Mizzou going in to play UMass next week. Don't really like picking a winner just because I expect Mizzou to blow them out, but there is a very large over under at 55.5 for this game that I'm going to lay or 53.5, but I'm going to buy it up to 55.5. I feel like Mizzou is probably going to win this game like 35-3, 35-10. I feel like it should be a pretty easy cover there at 55.
Yeah, I think the line was at 27 and a half,
Yeah.
which seems fairly high, but I mean, Missouri just laid an egg on the road. UMass isn't great, so they should be able to cover that. But coming off a loss, I'm not expecting much. I think I'm gonna leave that one alone for now.
Right on. Then we got Wisconsin going into Rutgers this week. Rutgers had a tough loss at Nebraska last week. Tough place to play. 14-7 game. Rutgers offense really just couldn't get it going at all throughout the entire game. I expect that to be different this game. They're at home. Wisconsin is a good team. I do expect them to keep the game close in the first half, but I just think that Rutgers is going to be able to pull out this game, so I'm going to take them -2.5. I'm also loving the over 40.5 in this game. In the first half against USC, Wisconsin's defense created a lot of turnovers and was able to score a lot of points. If they're able to replicate that, I think that Rutgers offense will have no problem keeping up and scoring. So I'm taking the over 40.
Yeah, a little torn on this game. I know last week we took Rutgers at +7, and then the
Yeah.
game ended 14-7, so I kind of neutralized out. I'm leaning on Wisconsin right now, but I kind of want to keep riding the Rutgers wave. So I don't know if I'm going to take it. I'm going to be rooting for Rutgers, but I am kind of leaning on Wisconsin to cover three.
Right on. And then we got Georgia Tech going in to play UNC this week. I'm just gonna take Georgia Tech money line. I think they're the better team here. They're 4-2. UNC hasn't really done a whole lot spectacular. I feel like Max Johnson was probably their best shot, although their quarterback has looked decent, not great, not bad. But yeah, I just think that Georgia Tech's gonna be the better team here, especially defensively.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech stops the run effectively, so I don't expect Amari and Hampton to get going, and he's pretty much the whole offense for UNC. So I do think Georgia Tech goes in and gets a win in Chapel Hill.
Yep. And then we got one of your favorite games of the week, Northwestern going and play Maryland this week. Gonna take Northwestern +10.5 in this game. Maryland hasn't looked great this year. So yeah, it feels like Northwestern, if their defense can play any sort of semblance of Northwestern football, then they should be able to keep themselves in this one.
Yeah, I think this is a game they very much could have a shot at winning. I don't love +300. Like it's kind of juicy, like tempting.
Mm.
Where I think a lot of people might be on Maryland at home for a 2-3 Northwestern team that doesn't look great, but their defense has kept it pretty close for the most part. Obviously, Indiana just kind of ran away with it at the end. I think won by 14 against them, but their offense was moving the ball effectively, and their defense is solid. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them come away with a win at that +300 mark. I do like 10.5 to be covered.
Right on. And then got a game that I'm buying down a little bit. Texas is 13.5 point favorites going into Oklahoma for the Red River rivalry. Um, I like Texas in this game. I don't like them at 13.5 just because Oklahoma's defense is pretty good and can keep them in the game. But I don't expect Oklahoma's offense to get going in this one. So I'm just going to buy it and take it at 9.5.
Yeah, I think Quinn Ewers is finally back for this game. He hasn't played obviously in 4 weeks now, I believe, maybe even a fifth. So I'm interested to see if he starts a little bit on the slower side. I think this is a game I would rather live bet because if Oklahoma does start with the ball, they go get a quick score. That line will probably drop to around 5 or 6 for Texas, in which case I'd probably take it. But 14 seems like a lot going into Oklahoma in a battle that I'm pretty sure Oklahoma ended up beating them last year at home with a big comeback win with Dylan Gabriel, obviously. Um, yeah, I mean, I think Texas should win the game, but 14 and -600 or so is just not really worth it. So I'd probably live bet this one.
Right on. Then we got another interesting game. Penn State going into LA playing USC this week. USC had a tough loss against Minnesota in the cold last week. Just couldn't clutch it out in the end, pretty much. And I expect this to be a bounce back week. USC +7.5. I think they're 5.5 point dogs right now. I'm going to buy it up to 7.5. They're going to keep this within a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is like within a score going towards the end and maybe even into overtime. I feel like this is going to be a really good Big Ten matchup, and SC is going to have to, put something together to try and bounce back from that loss last week.
Yeah, going into the Coliseum, Penn State, honestly, I think they're undefeated top five now, I believe. They
Yeah, they're
don't
top.
look
They're four.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't look great though. Like nothing they've done has been impressive all year. So this is an interesting one. Going into the Coliseum will be tough. Just to play USC. I do like buying it up to 7.5. I could see this being like a 4 point game. Not sure which side I'm leaning on, whether Penn State or USC get the win. I'm hoping the Trojans pull through, um, just because I really don't think Penn State's that good. But yeah, I definitely like 7.5. I'm kind of surprised that the line is almost 6 for the home or for the away team going into the Coliseum. So we'll see if they can bounce back.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a battle of defenses in that one, and whatever offense can manage to push the ball down the field is going to be the one that comes away with a victory. Then we got Louisville going in and playing Virginia. Virginia's looked really good the past few weeks. We kind of talked about SMU last week. We're all over that plus 225 or plus 200. They absolutely came through for us. Louisville did make it close in the end, but SMU looked great. I got to give them
Mhm.
props. Definitely made us some bread there. So love that. But yeah, I'm taking Virginia this week, plus 7.5. They've looked really good the last few weeks. I think won by 20 last week or something along those lines. But yeah, they look good. I think they're going to be able to keep this game within 7. If they don't, it's just going to be because Louisville is going to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one. Virginia was down, I think, by 10 against Boston College, and then came back and won by 10.
Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of a shocker. I thought Boston College would win that one
Yeah.
fairly handily. So yeah, Virginia continues to play well. Louisville's I think got a great defense, so I think that they're going to be able to stymie Virginia a little bit. Don't love it with a 7.5 point line. I just Virginia's not consistently good, and Louisville's been pretty solid. So I'm gonna leave
True.
that one alone.
Yep. And then fun game for the next one. Arizona is going in and playing BYU. BYU has been an absolute wagon. They're up to 14th in the rankings, and Arizona dropped out of the rankings after losing. But man, BYU's looked really good, and they're only 4.5 point favorites at home, meaning they're only 1.5 point favorites without the home favorites. So I just feel like that's probably pretty far off. Arizona got their butt kicked by Kansas State, and then Kansas State walked into BYU and got their butt kicked. So if football math makes sense, then BYU should be able to cover 4.5 in this one.
Yeah, if that was a Pac-12 matchup, I'd be hammering Arizona money line because they be triangling all the time. One team beats another, beats another, beats another.
Yeah,
I think Lavelle Edwards is probably one of the toughest places to play in college football. So I do think BYU comes away with a win. I don't love 4.5. I think that's kind of a weird line. Like you said, getting 1.5 extra point as a home favorite, it's kind of weird for Arizona team that really hasn't looked great all year so far.
nah. Arizona's offense is going to have to keep them in this game for sure. Their defense has really been struggling this year so far. Then we got Florida going in to play Tennessee. Don't really like picking a winner in this one. I'm sure Tennessee is probably going to win this game. Um, but I just don't like where the lines are at there. I do love the under 55.5. Tennessee's D last week just wasn't really able to take care of business, and I do think that they have a really good defense. It's just kind of a fluke week. So I expect them to kind of get back to their normal, be able to freaking get stops on defense, and then get the ball back into what's the dude's name, the quarterback?
Amaliva, Nico.
Yeah, Maliava or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I expect him to get the ball back in his hands, and as long as they continue to milk the clock, run the ball, this game should stay under 55.5.
Yeah, I think the line was at 14, if I'm not mistaken. I do like Tennessee to cover that. I could see this being like a 45 to 10. I think that's probably as high scoring as it's going to get, so I don't dislike that under at all. But yeah, I think they cover 14. I don't think Florida's very good. Their QB was talking preseason about how they'd be winning a different division or something. They're not good. And their best player was ETN who left. So
Yep,
I think it's going to be a big bounce back for Tennessee after getting upset by Arkansas.
sure. So yeah, we're gonna touch Tennessee then and take the under. And then we got Oregon State going in to play UNR. Now Oregon State is obviously one of the last ones in the Pac-12. So they're looking to kind of rebuild the Pac-12. They have looked pretty good this year when they haven't played good teams. So I'm expecting them to cover 4 here away.
Yeah, they're an interesting team. I think they're 4-1. Yeah, they look pretty good. I don't love 4 on the road, but I'll take them on the money line for minus 190 value.
Yeah, for sure. And then we got Ole Miss and LSU. Another really good game this week, 9
Mhm.
versus 13. Going to take Ole Miss money line. They looked really good against South Carolina last week. We talked about that a little bit already. But yeah, they look like a wagon. I don't think LSU looks any good by any means. I would also look into the over for this game just because there's probably going to be a lot of quick scoring. But yeah, I do like Ole Miss money line.
Yeah, this one was upsetting for me last year. I know we had Ole Miss going in and winning, and they ended up choking their lead to LSU. So it kind of scares me again, just coaching wise. Kiffin, can't win big games. So hoping this one's a change. Obviously, this year they don't have Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas, and Malik Neighbors over at LSU. So with that, I'm just gonna just ride Ole Miss money line again, going on the road. I don't think LSU looks great. Neither does Ole Miss, but I do think Ole Miss is definitely the better football team. So taking them.
100% agreed. Then Minnesota is going in to play UCLA. They just beat SC by 7 last week. UCLA, it's pretty terrible. So I don't expect them to be able to keep this one within a score, even
Hmm.
at home. Garbers, after that Oregon game, just has been kind of in limp mode trying to get the team through. And
Yep.
obviously, they're not kind of where they were hoping they'd be. So I'd imagine that they're probably on the decline and getting ready to call their season. But yeah, I expect Minnesota to cover 5.5 here away.
Yeah, this game I definitely think will go on the underside because I think Minnesota's defense is pretty good, but their offense also isn't great. They just run the ball pretty effectively with Darius Taylor. Now that he's healthy again, he's been solid the last few weeks for him. I could see this being like a 17-10 game, but I'm kind of leaning on them to cover. I don't love it because I do think it'll be a lower score.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And then we got Kansas State going in to play Colorado. That's going to be another fun one this week. Line started at 3.5 for Kansas State. I don't know exactly where it's at now. I honestly don't really have a lean for
4.
this game. I was initially thinking Kansas State, but the more I think about it, Colorado has really improved on the offensive and defensive lines, and their wide receivers all came back, and they got a few new guys, so they're really stacked at the wide receiver position. So they got a lot of people that Shador can throw the ball to. So if Kansas State doesn't have good DBs, I expect that they're going to be able to score. So it's just going to be about whether Kansas State's offense can keep up and the defense can get stops. Because I think Colorado is going to be able to score either way. It's just going to be about whether Kansas State's offense can keep them in it.
Yeah, this would be a good game to live bet because I think both teams could have a lead at some point in the game. So if you're leaning on Kansas State and Colorado goes up, you can get them at better value. Or if you're leaning the other way, Kansas State, Colorado can go up and then you get Kansas State better value. I do like Kansas State personally. I'll probably take them money line. I think it's right around minus 200 as a 4-point favorite. I just think that they're going to dominate the offensive line of Colorado. I don't think their offensive line is that great. They've definitely improved. But my favorite play for this game is DJ Giddens, probably over 100 yards as well as scoring a touchdown. So those are probably my plays for the game.
Yeah, right on. I like that. And then last game on college football slate is Boise State and Hawaii. Boise State, I think, opens now as 20.5 point favorites. I'm just going to buy it down to 19.5. They're an absolute wagon. I think Ashton GT is clearly the Heisman. I don't think it's really even close, to be honest. I hope that everybody else sees it the same way because that dude's putting up better than Barry Sanders level numbers, and he didn't even play the second half last week. So it's just
Hmm.
crazy to watch. He's an absolute stud. Love watching that team. I feel like they're definitely a lock now to make the top 12 just because of the way they've been playing. Even took Oregon to a really close game at home for us. So I expect this team to continue to just roll and they'll win this game by 20 for sure.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me is they're going into Hawaii, so it's a long flight. The weather's going to be a little bit different than it is in Idaho. But I definitely like Boise State. I think they come away with a win by probably at least 14. 20 kind of scares me, but I do think I'm leaning on the 20. I almost hammered his under on 193.5 yards last week, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. He's a dog. I should have done it. He had 186 at halftime, and then they pulled him. I was like, wow. It was halftime. I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't touch it. And then he didn't play another snap. I was like, this
I
guy's
can't
averaging
imagine this
14.
the sweat though for all of the others that had it.
Dude,
Just
dude,
is he
his
gonna come in? Is he gonna come in for one
he's,
play?
aver- he's averaging 10.9 per
Yeah,
carry.
he
It's like
literally had to come
13
in
and a
for
half
one
last
play and he
week.
probably would have covered.
Yeah, so I should have hammered the under. I knew the whole time, but that's all right. Maybe next week.
Yeah, right on. But yeah, kind of switching over to the NFL now. NFL landscape has just been completely different this year. A lot of underdogs
Hmm.
winning, a lot of away teams winning, just a lot of funky things happening. Robert Sala got fired this morning, which is a complete shocker. Like, I don't know why you would do that 5 games into the season. It would make more sense to just do it before the season or wait until the season's done. But I guess they feel like they only have one season with a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, realistically. So I guess that they're just feeling they have to make the move now. But I personally didn't really like it. I think their defense is really good. It just should have been more about fixing the offense. And I think in order to do that, they have to get rid of Hackett. And they didn't do that. So I don't know if the offense is going to get much better in the coming weeks, but I know playing for a new coach can help a lot of the players out. So hopefully that'll be the case for the Jets, but I don't really see it. First game on our slate is the Niners and the Seahawks. The Niners are 3.5-point favorites, I think, but I'm going to buy it down to 2.5. They're 2-3. I would have never expected that. I don't think anybody did. McCaffrey looks like he may be done for the season. I don't know how much longer his career is going to go if he's going to have consistent issues like that. So that does kind of scare me a little bit for the Niners because they look like a different team without all of their weapons. But I do like them at the Seahawks this week. I think they're going to cover 2.5. They usually split with the Seahawks. I do think, this is a must win for them. So they should be able to cover.
Yeah, they should cover. I'm just gonna take money line, play it safe at minus 190. Going into Seattle with the six man. Obviously, we just talked about we don't think Seattle's that good. We took the Giants money line. How about them Giants?
Yep.
Easy dubs plus 220 without Malik Neighbors. That was butter. The Seahawks kind of suck, but they play well in divisional games and better at home.
Yep.
So I do think this will be an interesting one. I do think Niners will cover the three. I'm going to play it safe with the money line.
Right on. I like that. And then fun game you and I are both on, Jags and at the Bears in London. I'm just gonna say it. I'm going Jags money line. I think last year they won both the games when they traveled to London, and I feel like they kind of got they got Wembley and they got Tottenham Spurs Stadium down. So if they can travel over there again, get a win, that puts them back to 2-4, I think. I mean, that puts them back into a decent spot where if they can string together a couple more wins, and they can kind of reinsert themselves into the playoff picture in that division.
Yeah, the games that they won last year, ETN popped off, and I know Bigsby's been balling.
Yeah.
So happy to see that he's kind of taken over those carries, which I would have been happy to see last year, not necessarily this year.
Yeah.
Now he's ETN's on my fantasy team, but anyway, I do think that both of them have a shot to get in the end zone. I think they're good plays, and I think the plays for the games in London is whoever runs the ball more effectively will win, as well as who has the vets on the squad. Uh, we just saw that the Vikings were able to run the ball pretty effectively against the Jets, pulled off a good win there. Darnold obviously played another great game. Rodgers had 3 picks, so there's that too. But
Yeah.
I do think Caleb Williams is a little mismatched. The fact that the run defense for the Jags is not great, but the rushing offense is not great for the Bears either.
No.
So I think they're going to rely heavily on throwing the ball, and I think this is a game where the Jags step up and they come out, bounce back, show a little life, get back to 2-4. I know Doug Peterson's been on the hot spot a little bit, and we rode with them last week, and they pulled it off for us, even though it was a sweat.
Yeah.
So we're gonna ride with them again in London this week. So let's go Jags.
Yep. Right on. Then continuing on, you got the Texans going in to play the Patriots. I think that the line is a total trap, so I'm just going to take the Texans money line here.
Yeah, I was leaning on Texans money line. Minus 320 is not great, but also like 7 points with a Pats D is just like eh. But then it's also Drake May and the guy's cheeks, and so I'm sitting here like Texans by 20. Like
Yeah,
Texans
true.
should win. I don't. I'm probably gonna take a -7, and then if they
Right
lose, I'm
on.
just gonna be like, well, it was a good run. So I'll take a -7.
Fair enough. We got the Lions going in to play the Cowboys. Obviously, the Cowboys looked great at home last year, but haven't looked great at home this year. I expect the Lions to win this game. They've looked like an absolute wagon. I think they're, along with the Ravens, they're kind of the team to beat so far. I just feel like they've been really, really good so far. And I also noticed something really interesting that kind of like popped out to me. I think on some sort of podcast I was watching. Every team that has played the Lions, the next week they do not cover. Every single team that has played the Lions, the next week they either lose or don't cover. So the Lions last week had a bye. So I
Had
don't
a
know
bye.
where to put it then, but I do think with a bye they should be pretty healthy. The Cowboys obviously aren't healthy on defense, and the Lions run the ball extremely efficiently. So I expect them to be able to mix it up, and they should get the dub here.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I want to take Demont or Gibbs to get in the end zone. I think
Yeah,
probably both will. I'm thinking like Saquon used to dominate the passing attack, which makes me think Gibbs will get it more. But on the ground game, Montgomery should be able to dog us. I do think Lions win. I do think they cover three. I think they win fairly easily after like a controversial. Everyone was like Cowboys shouldn't have won, but it should have never gotten to that point in the first place because of missed penalties.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cowboys ended up pulling it off by one last year. Obviously, bad coaching by Dan Campbell yet again. Questionable coaching, I guess to say. But I do think they cover this year. Like I said, Cowboys are worse. They're not healthy, like you mentioned, and then they're coming off a bye, so the Lions should be healthy. They should be able to run it for 200
Yeah,
plus.
that's what I'm
Honestly,
thinking.
I would probably take Gibbs 60 yards and Montgomery 80, and both of them to punch one in. I think that'd be butter.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, that and Aubrey over 1.5 field goals because the Cowboys will manage to get it within the 40, but he's gonna end up banging a couple 60s.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Right on. But yeah, moving on. Then we got the Commanders going in and playing the Ravens in a tough Baltimore place to play. I feel like the Ravens are kind of flying under the radar so far this year after losing those first two games because these last three they've looked really good. Especially last week against the Bengals, being able to kind of, or was it against the Bengals? I can't
Yep,
remember who it was. But anyways,
they
they
just
ended up pulling.
beat the Bengals. Yep.
Yeah, they ended up pulling it out. They looked really good. I feel like their defense still has a few things to figure out, but their offense is clicking on all cylinders. I feel like they found a good way to incorporate Henry into the offense and still manage to get Lamar on, out on the sides of the field. So I do like the way the Ravens have been playing. I feel like they are a little bit of a dark horse here coming towards the later or middle part of the season. So I'm taking them.
Yeah, I did want to throw out there that you said that the Lions and the Ravens look like the teams to beat, but have you watched the Commanders football team?
Yeah, I've
Let's
watched them. I just
go.
don't trust them.
Oh man, yeah, I know they've
They're
done me
wagging. They're
dirty.
wagging. Yeah.
Considering I'm the person that took them plus 1200 to win the division and gave it out as a lock, they've done me dirty two straight weeks, so I don't really want to go against them. I'm gonna take them plus 6.5.
That's fair. Yeah, I feel like the
Don't love
Ravens
it.
could
I think
probably win
Ravens
this
win
one
this game.
late. Yeah.
I think Ravens win
This
this
could even
one.
be another overtime game. Like honestly, I could see this being an overtime game.
Yeah, it's two offensives that have been looking pretty good. Defenses
Mhm.
have both looked kind of shaky. So
Yeah.
just because of that, I'm like, it's going to be low scoring, huh?
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
just feels
And
like one of those games where it's
I
like
think Derrick
maybe we're
Henry's
going to
getting the
get,
rock 20 times at least.
yeah, like I feel like it might be like a 23-20 or something. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be on the lower scoring side. So it'll be an interesting one. I'm going to take the plus 6.5. But again, I don't love it, but I'm riding with the Commanders now. I mean, I gave them out early. They're looking hot for me.
And
Everyone's
they're
like, no
healthy.
one, everyone's
Yeah.
like, no one predicted this. Well, go watch the show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Watch the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, we'll take Commanders with the 6.5.
Yeah, I love that. I also love the Ravens money line just based on the way they've been playing. So, then we got Browns and Eagles. Don't really like picking a winner in this game. I'd imagine the Eagles are pretty heavy favorites.
9 points.
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
I
I don't even
mean,
know, is Devontae Smith or AJ Brown back?
I
I
don't,
don't
I
know.
don't know. But they do have Saquon. I'm thinking the over is the play in this game. Obviously the Browns haven't looked good on offense in a single game so far. So what better team to finally kind of put an offensive game together than against the Eagles secondary that has not looked great.
Yeah.
Buccaneers threw the ball all over them. A couple other teams have just been throwing the ball all over them. So if Deshaun Watson can find ways to get his guys in space, then I feel like they should be able to score some points here. And if that's the case, it should go over.
Is Deshaun still playing? That guy's so bad.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know who the backup is. Is
Jameis
it
Winston. Let my boy
okay? That's
cook.
right. That's right.
Let
Yeah.
my
I mean,
dude cook.
they should at
The
least
dude
give him a
threw
shot. Yeah.
with the Bucks. He threw 30 touchdowns, 30 picks in one season. What a legend! At least he's slinging it. Deshaun's
Yeah.
just nothing. I mean, I'd put him out there. I think they'd have a shot to beat the Eagles. It says Devontae and AJ are both questionable, so maybe one will play, maybe one won't. I honestly, nine's a lot for the NFL. We talked about this with the Pats and the Niners, and we are like,
Yep.
we're just gonna take the Niners because they're a better team, and they covered. But I might buy it to 10.5 and take the Browns because that's a lot of points for an Eagles team that's looked pretty bad.
And for a Browns team that still manages to have Miles Garrett on that side of the ball. And I feel like it just doesn't
It's
matter.
two.
Like if you have Miles Garrett on that side and he can get 2.5 sacks in a game, then it should be able to keep it within 10.
Well, especially with the turnovers that Hurt's been having. He's like number one in turnovers since last year's week 3 or something. And I'm just like, if
Yeah,
the Browns get a turnover or two and end up scoring on one of them, like they'll have a shot to win, let alone cover 10.
yeah, for sure. Then we got the Bucks and the Saints. I think the Bucks are 3.5 point favorites, maybe three. Anyways, they're away. I do like them in this game. No Derek Carr. He's been officially ruled out. So
Has
I
he?
can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember who they said is going to start this game. Some guy that I had never heard of.
Was it the South Carolina quarterback, ginger guy, Rattler?
Yeah, Rattler. That's who it
Is it
was.
okay? It's Spencer
Yeah,
Rattler. All
Spencer
right,
Rattler. And I do not expect them to play well against the Bucks defense. So I'm taking the Bucks minus 2.5.
dude, that means Spencer's gonna be slinging it.
Dude, Vita Vea is back. He's been playing like an absolute
Ooh,
baller. I don't know, man. In the one game that he wasn't there, it was against the Broncos, and they obviously didn't look great. But since then,
yeah.
they've looked pretty good.
All right. Well, I said this preseason. I don't think the Saints are good. They started 2-0, and I was like, I
Yeah.
don't think they're good. Now they're 2-3. However, we're taking Saints money line. I could see
Okay.
it now. Rattler goes, gets a division win. They're tied at 3-3. They start questioning if Derek Carr is the starting QB or if they're going to trade him. Like I could see something happening. Get Derek Carr to the Dolphins or something. I don't know. Like put him somewhere, but like let Spencer Rattler cook. The Saints suck. They need a new quarterback, and yeah, I'll go with the Saints money line. Let's just take it. They're at home. Why not?
You're right on. Best of luck. I just feel like the Bucks are gonna smack him this. I don't know why. I guess
They
if Kamara
should.
ends up running the ball well, then all bets are off because if Kamara is getting 200 rushing and receiving, then anything can happen in a Saints game. But last
I
week
feel
he had
like
like
Rattler. I feel like Rattler gets two touchdowns and 2 picks, and I
okay,
think he keeps him in the game with it. That's what we're
right on.
riding with.
I like that. But yeah, so yeah, there's Bucks and Saints. Then we got Cardinals and Packers. Don't want to speak too much on this game. Kind of like the Cardinals a little bit more at the beginning of the year, but I don't like them as much now after these past few weeks. They did
Just
look
beat the
okay.
Niners.
It was a comeback. The Niners are a bit on the IR. I just didn't think it was like the most impressive comeback. It just felt like it was just kind of like it felt random or it felt like a one-off almost.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm
it
just gonna stick
was.
with Packers money line. I feel like Jordan Love's balling. Like he is looking like a mixture of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers when he plays. They got freaking Josh Jacobs in the backfield. So if things are going well, the Packers are at home. Lambeau's a really tough place to play, and it's really cold. Kyler is probably not going to enjoy that, so I'm thinking the Packers should win this one.
I'm gonna take the Cards with the 7. I know the lines I think at 5.5, but I'm gonna take it to 7. I think that they should be able to cover. They look pretty good. I just don't love the Packers. Like
Yeah,
it's not like I'm rooting against them. I just don't think they're that great. Um,
I think their defense is much improved. Like they've looked really good.
Yeah, like coaching, I kind of like LaFleur, but I really like Josh Gannon. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. Like Packers, I feel like defensively haven't been great at stopping the run. And
Yeah,
this is a game where, I mean, Kyler broke one for 50 to start the game, and then they were kind of shut down, which is why they couldn't move the ball much against the Niners, but then they didn't allow a point in the second half. Granted, Jordan Mason was trying to do too much and fumbled at like the 5, which is what led to them having a chance to go win it, and they did.
yeah,
Um, but I'm kind of leaning on the Cardinals. I think they keep it close, so I'll take a 7.5.
right on. And then we got the Colts and the Titans. Colts had a rough game against the Jags last week, and obviously Flacco's Flacco, but their defense looks like
I'll
they're completely out of sorts. DeForest Buckner's out for the season, so that's a huge loss for
I'd say
them.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm taking the Titans money line in this. I feel like Levis is due to have a good week, and this Colts defense and secondary is pretty hot garbo. So I feel like this is a chance for him to actually earn that spot.
Yeah, call's crazy, but I got Titans money line as well. I think it's
Yeah,
hilarious that it's like the one for Titans and the one for Jags are like my two locks of the week. Like we are here for it. We're ready for the AFC South to start balling. But not the Colts this week. But we got
yeah,
the Titans at home in a pick 'em. I think Will Levis is going to bounce back. Maybe we'll get another meme from him, but
yeah,
maybe we get a meme and a win. Who knows? He's yet to get one, I think. So, yeah, excited to see that game. I think it'll be a fun divisional. Flacco has been balling.
yeah.
I
He
do think
has.
he's going to throw. I do think he's going to throw a pick against the Titans defense. I am thinking it will be Bayard. So, like, if you want to sprinkle something on him to get a pick, I think that'd be a great play. But I do like the Titans at home money line on this one. Don't know why, just love it.
Also, player prop for this one that I like, Tony Pollard anytime touchdown. I feel
I could see
like
that
for
as
them to
well.
win the
Yeah,
game, he has to get in. So,
yeah,
yep,
I see
love
that.
that. Then Chargers and Broncos, another banger, one that I'm super excited for. Get to watch former Oregon quarterbacks go at it. Herbie and Nix. Man, what like this should be a really fun game. I feel like the Chargers defense has not been kind of what everybody was hoping for, and on the flip side, the Broncos defense has been playing out of their minds. Um, I feel like the Broncos is probably a top five defense, if not top three, just by the way they've been playing them. The Steelers, maybe the Lions. I don't know. There's a couple others in there that I can think of. Um, but I really like the way their defense is playing. I feel like a home game, they just won against the Raiders at home last week. Got Bo's first home win. Had a really nice game. As long as you can kind of replicate that, avoid the turnovers. I don't feel like the Chargers defense is really that good at creating turnovers. So I feel like for that reason, as long as Bo is able to play a pretty clean game, their defense will will them to a win.
Yeah, I don't have a pick on this one. I'm leaning on taking the Broncos +3 at home, just because their defense is very good. I don't really love it, so I probably wouldn't touch it. I do think Bo throws a pick. Like you said, I don't think the Chargers are good at creating turnovers, but I think Bo's kind of due for one,
Yeah,
and I think he could play sloppy, and they could still have a shot at winning it because their defense is great and the Chargers' offense isn't. I think Justin Herbert's only got 550 passing yards on the season.
yeah,
So it's like
something
it's not
like
like they're
that.
moving it well, and if they can stop the run, which is what they've been doing well, it should be a low scoring uh, battle.
Yeah, 100%. Then we got Steelers and the Raiders. Raiders are a bit in shambles, and for that reason, I'm just taking the Steelers. I love Max Crosby. I really do. Like he's one of my favorite players in the league to watch and listen to. Like his podcast is awesome too. If you get a chance, definitely go listen to that. He's a really cool guy to listen to. But yeah, the Steelers after that game against the Cowboys, they're gonna have to bounce back. They do feel like they're one of the better defenses in the league, and I expect that their defense is going to will them to a win in this one too.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's weird because I'm leaning on the Raiders. That's why it's weird because like the Steelers should win this game, and I think I'm just going to give out Steelers money line. But I don't love it. It feels weird. It feels kind of like a trap, and Raiders are at home and they need a win. Like if they lose, Antonio Pierce may be gone. I know they already listed Minshew as out. They're starting O'Connell. Um, so it'll be an interesting one. I do think Steelers should win. Steelers are also considering playing Russell Wilson, so we'll see what happens there. But I'm gonna take Steelers money line. It's a weird one for me.
Yeah, I mean the Steelers lost on a 20 seconds left touchdown by Dak to Tolbert on fourth down. It's not like they weren't in the game; like they were one play away from winning the game. So they're right there. I feel like as long as they played their brand of football, they should beat the Raiders. They've got
Yeah.
the Falcons going in playing the Panthers. At first glance, I was just like, kind of took the Panthers plus points last week, and man, that was a mistake. So I'm leaning on the Falcons money line. I like the way Kirk's playing. You talked about them a lot before the season. I just wasn't a believer. But now that we're 5 weeks in, going on to week 6, I am starting to believe a little bit more. Their defense looks really good. And if their defense is playing that well, as long as I can get Kirk the ball, I expect him to be able to score a little bit at least. And for that reason, they should beat the Panthers here.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna decide at the game. I am gonna go pull up for this one in Charlotte at Bank
Right
of
on.
America. I think it's gonna be interesting. Jenner, if you're watching this, I'll see you there because I'll be kicking it with him there. I'm leaning on a low scoring game, and so for that reason, I'm leaning on buying the Panthers to +7 and taking it because I feel like if I go, I got to ride with him. But also, if I'm with Jenner, we're going to be rooting for Kirko.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I do think Falcons should win this game. I do think Panthers might cover 7. I don't love it because the Panthers are trash, but I'll be there, so I will root partially for the Panthers.
Yeah. And the one thing that kind of scares me is the Falcons are kind of that one team that's like, if one thing goes wrong, it feels like everything goes wrong. So I'm hoping
Like
that
they should have gotten the PI in the end zone to beat the Chiefs, didn't.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then they shouldn't have come back and beat the Bucks, but they did shout out because we needed it.
yeah, for
Let's
sure.
go.
But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
leaning on that money line for sure. Then we got Bengals and Giants. Giants got a nice win in Seattle. This last week they looked great. That blocked punt or blocked field goal for a touchdown was massive. And congrats to the Giants, man. They actually just looked really good. I thought they played Seattle really tough. They kind of proved that Seattle was a little bit more fraudulent, like we thought. But I just feel like this week the Bengals are 1-4. They got a nice win last week. They're gonna try and keep getting into the win column. I saw an interview with their center today, and he's like one of the leaders of the NFL PA, so he's dealing with a lot of the PA stuff. But he was talking about, they just need to get back to playing their brand of football and get back into the win column. A lot of that starts with running the ball. If they're able to run the ball with Zach Moss, then I feel like they're going to be able to take over this game. But if they're not able to run the ball and they have to rely on Joe to throw the ball, it's going to be all on the receivers. So either way, I do think that they're going to be able to handle them. They should be the better team here. I just don't see the Giants' offense coming in and doing a whole lot. But we'll see.
I'm kind of leaning in an over on this one. I actually don't know what the line's set at. I would guess like 46, knowing these two teams. Um, I think it's going to be a passing attack for both teams because the Giants defense stops the run effectively, but they can't stop passing it. And Joe just threw for 400, and I think got his swag back a little bit. T was back, got 2 touchdowns. Chase was back, 2 touchdowns, and then the Giants will have Neighbors back, and we just watched Zay Flowers absolutely dicing their defense. So I think
Yeah.
Neighbors and Chase. I'm gonna go with the LSU boys. I'm gonna take both Neighbors and Chase to score a touchdown. I do think the Bengals win this game. I don't love anything beyond 3 points. I could see it 24-27. Um, I could see it 27-17. So, like, I'm not exactly sure where I'm feeling, but I definitely think Bengals win. So that's a safe play. And I would probably take them at a -3.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I love that play. Last one of the week, Monday Night Football. We got Bills going in to play the Jets. Obviously, talked a little bit about Salah before everything else. I feel like that's a big loss for them. I don't know how it's going to affect their defense. But yeah, I just feel like Hackett is not going to be the answer. And the Bills have lost now a few or one or two that just seemed like they
In a row.
probably the one they should have lost to the Ravens. But this last
Texans, they
one,
really got smoked by them. They just came back at the end.
yeah,
Nico
exactly.
Collins went down, and the Texans didn't game plan without him. So it was just like their offense stalled.
But when the Bills have won though, they also start really hot. So I would expect James Cook touchdown in the first quarter of this game, and if that happens, I don't see any reason why the Bills shouldn't handle the Jets.
Kind of leaning on Jets money line. Nathaniel Hackett is garbage, though. Oh
He's
my
so
goodness.
bad. I
They had
don't know
more.
why Aaron
Uh,
Rodgers has such a strong affiliation towards him. Um, but yeah, his play
also,
calling has
yeah,
been pretty shit, like to say the least.
yeah. Aaron Rodgers' QBR is also lower than Daniel Jones's this year. Just throwing that out there by 5.5. But anyway, so give me a New York quarterback. I'm taking Danny Dimes over Aaron Rodgers, who looks washed. No, I think Bills should win this game. I'm gonna take them. I actually am leaning on Jets money line at heart. I don't love it at all. I think
Yeah.
Bills should annihilate them. Like Bills look decent, and Jets don't. So Bills should easily win this one by I think it was a 2.5 point line. I do like Shakir. I
Okay.
think Shakir gets in the end zone in this one. I think that there's going to be a lot of attention to the run game, trying to stop James Cook, and then obviously Keon Coleman is starting to make a name for himself, as well as Kincaid's been stepping up pretty consistently. So I think Shakir is going to be a good one to get in the end zone this week. Um, Bills, yeah, we'll take Bills money line.
Yeah.
Also, though, like I don't dislike the Salah thing. Like I would have probably kept him had he made a move to get rid of Hackett. But he brought Hackett on staff, and then he didn't get rid of Hackett. And then he came out after getting fired saying, "Well, I was thinking about getting rid of Hackett." Well, you should have, because now you lost your job. You know what I mean? Like
But he
you
also
just got to
knows
do it.
Aaron's affiliation to Hackett, so he doesn't want to piss Aaron off, who's the leader of his team. So I understand like the whole like conundrum
Yeah.
of it. But my biggest thing is week 5 after a London game. Does it really make sense? That's the biggest thing for me.
But like,
So
does it though? Like that was a huge game. Like they needed it because now they got the Bills, and if they go 2-4, it's not looking good. Like
yeah.
their defense is fine, which is kind of what he came there for. But they scored
So
94
yeah.
points
But I
in
would
the
say
first
that the
five
offense
games
isn't on
last
him
year.
though.
Yeah. In the first 4 games last year, though, they scored like 94 points. And in the first or sorry, first five, and then the first five this year they've scored 92. Like it's less with Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
and so it's like, was Zach Wilson the problem? Not necessarily. It's Hackett. We all know Hackett's a bum. He was a bum with the Broncos, uh, but for some reason he's still around. So yeah,
Yeah, I think in order to win games, they're gonna have to get rid of him. So Bills money line should be the way to go.
got to
And
get rid of Hackett or go get Devontae. I don't know. They got to do something.
or just hire an offensive guy. Like I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I don't even think this interim coach coming in is an offensive minded guy, and so I just don't think it really fixes a whole lot of things for them.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what they do for sure.
hmm but yeah, that's going to wrap it up for NFL. I do kind of want to give our NFL parlay because we both love it this week. It is
Oh,
a
we're cooking.
hefty one. It's a hefty one this week. Yeah, we got 49ers money line to open it up on Thursday night. Then we got the Jags money line to take care of business in London like they did last year.
Let's go,
Third game, we
Jags.
got the Titans money line at plus 100 against the
Love
Colts.
it.
The fourth game, we got the Lions money line to take care of the Cowboys. Lions coming off a bye and looking great. And then we got the Bengals
Bengals.
money line to take care of the
Yes, sir.
Giants. And if all five of those teams win, we are on top plus 15-30, 15-1. So
That's
that should be a
juice.
pretty solid if those teams can manage to get it done.
Yep, I definitely like that. I think you should slice it up thin, cook that up. If you don't like one, take it out. It's still going to get you good value. But Titans, Jags, Bengals, Lions, Niners, those all seem like locks for the week. So definitely like that 15-1. Let's have a week.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we gave out like 4 or 5 player props over the course of the podcast too. I'm also going to parlay those 4 or 5 up because over the last 3 or 4 weeks, our player props have been absolutely crushing. So I'm just going to continue to ride with those. We've been doing great so far. But thank you everybody for tuning in. We enjoy to just continue to get together every week, shell out some of our favorite picks, talk about some of the drama and the jargon, everything that's going on in CFB and NFL landscapes. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Enjoy this weekend's games. And until then, peace.
See you.